You should just go ahead and pick it up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay, Monica. Hi, Teresa. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the December 12th board meeting, and this is our organizational meeting. We will begin tonight with C1, election of officers. Ed Code Sections 35-143, 72,000 require the governing board to hold an annual organizational meeting to elect officers and to set the date, time, and place for all regular board meetings in 2024. Do we have any public comments on the organizational meeting? No, this is the organizational meeting. No public comments. I will go ahead and begin with C1A, the election of president. At this time, I'll accept a motion for nominating a president.
I'd like to nominate Jamie Dimon.
Thank
I
you.
second that.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay. Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie, for being president.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a good job.
Thank you so much.
All right, I'll hand this over to you, and the next is election of the vice president.
Okay, I will now take nominations for vice president clerk.
I move to nominate Andy Schaefer as vice president clerk.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we are going to establish regular monthly meetings of the Board of Education to be held typically at 5:30 p.m. on the second and fourth Tuesdays of each calendar month. Board meetings will be held in the Carpinteria City Council Chambers, 5775 Carpinteria Avenue, Carpinteria, or at the District Administrative Office or a school site if needed, the location to be determined by the board. Our board meetings in 2024 are currently scheduled for January 9th and 23rd, February 13th and 27th, March 12th, April 9th and 23rd, May 14th, May 29th, June 11th and June 15th,
25.
sorry, 25th, July 9th, August 13th, August 27, September 10, September 24, October 8, October 22, November 13, November 26, and December 17. Does anybody have any comments? No? Okay. May I get a motion on the meetings?
I move to accept the proposed meeting schedule set forth.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Appointment of board members to various committees. Board member appointees. The following appointed board positions are not for designated agency representatives who engage in negotiations with the designated representatives for personnel matters, and so these committees are open to the public. 2023 County Committee on School District Organization election, we had Green and Smith with an alternate of Bridgeford. Any changes there, or are we good as is? We're good, okay. 2024, and that'll so be for this next year. For 23, the Joint City Council Board of Trustees Committee, we had myself and Schaefer with an alternate of Green. Is anybody else interested or want
Anybody want to be on that?
anybody?
Yeah, I'd like to do it this year. Okay, I can be an alternate. Okay. Or if Sally wants to still be alternate.
Let Eric do it. He's get the full scope of it.
Get in there.
Okay.
Okay, so we have, do we want to do Schaefer Bridgeford, and I can be and I'll be an alternate?
Okay.
Okay,
If you're all right with that.
yeah, I'm good with that.
All right.
Okay. So let me just write that down. Okay. And then for the member of California School Board Association Legislative Network, it was myself this last year, and I'm happy continuing with that. I was actually just having contact with our legislative representative with CSBA recently. So, okay, I'll stay there. Can I get a motion to approve as designated?
I move to approve, I don't know, C3.
I'll second. All right.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, any discussion? Are we clear on where it said, or do you want me to run it down? We're good? Okay.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. Okay, we are now moving on to our regular session. Can everybody please rise for the flag salute? Ready, begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our closed session report. We had a student expungement of expulsion, education code 48917E, student case 222301. The board voted 4 in favor, 1 not present, to expunge the expulsion of that student. In 2B, student expungement of expulsion, student case 222308. The board voted 4 in favor, 1 not present, to expunge the expulsion of the student. And student expungement of expulsion, education code 48917E, student case 2223012. The board voted 4 in favor, 1 not present, to expunge the expulsion of the student. And then we had a conference with labor negotiators. Information was exchanged, no action taken. Okay, next we have the approval of the minutes for our regular meeting of November 28th, 2023. Do we have any questions from the board on approval of the minutes? No? Okay, public comment. Please feel free to step on up to the podium. Make sure the green light is on. Please do not hit the microphone as it hurts the ears of the person working behind us. He's wearing a headset.
Thank you. Before I begin my comments, Thank you. Let the minutes of the November 28th board meeting show that the board approved the Carpinteria Middle School single plan for student achievement, having just been advised that significant discrepancies were contained therein. Let the minutes show that these discrepancies included alleged investments in special education resources, which did not or do not exist as cited in the single plan. Let the minutes show that page 33 of the CMS single plan states in strategy activity 8 that students with IEPs will receive specialized instruction in co-taught ELA and math classes. And let the minutes show that these classes are being dismantled due to the impact of poorly conceived programmatic changes initiated by CMS and CUSD administration. The same kinds of changes, bless you, the same kinds of changes that have resulted in no less than 9 special education teachers resigning or early retirements at CMS in the last 3 years, 1 taking a leave of absence in the past month, and another resigning in complete opposition to what you told us last week, 1 resigning exactly as union leadership had warned you at successive board meetings and behind closed doors as of this evening's personnel report. 1 more leaving the district in the middle of the school year. In the last month, CMS SPED students just lost 40% of their SPED faculty dedicated to serve their unique interests at the middle school. Let the minutes show that the board approved the CMS single plan, having just been advised that the single plan was grossly inflating the resources dedicated to the mission of ensuring campus safety. This significant discrepancy can be found on page 46, strategy activity 7, which stated that student safety will be served by hiring additional campus supervisors. Not only has the total of campus supervisors not been increased at the middle school, but due both to the administrative response to a recent event with a gun on campus and a subsequent highly misleading communication by Principal O'Shea, one of the middle school's very effective full-time campus supervisors has just resigned, as documented on the November 28th personnel report of the last meeting. Once again, the human resources specifically dedicated to the campus supervision and safety are now down to 50%, 1/2 of what is stated in the CMS single plan that you all just approved. And when we specifically asked Principal O'Shea if she'd be backfilling or the district would be backfilling those safety positions, she confirmed no, there is no effort to backfill the open positions. Let the minutes show that the board approved the single plan for student achievement, having been well advised and fully aware that the middle school's report falsely claims that the CMS is devoting $84,000 to provide a full year of robotics instruction electives classes, which it is absolutely not. Let the minutes show that the board approved the CMS single plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And once again, I'd like to be very clear, there was no firearm on campus at any time. So let's see here. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of November 28th.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approval of the agenda and consent agenda. The agenda is, the following items compose the consent agenda. They're considered to be routine and may be enacted by approval of a single motion by a board roll call. These are routine items unless anybody has any questions about these. No? Okay. Public comment on consent agenda.
So the items are routine, but there is a process defined by Brown Act. And once again, and without placing any judgment on the value of this evening's consent agenda items, it appears there are items that have not recently been brought before the board and the community at least once in the recent past. If so, this would certainly be in keeping with the district's practices of loading many independent items on the consent agenda to be approved en masse without so much as a conversation or question offered by our board members or the community. At the last 2 board meetings, the union notified the district that it's misusing the administration of the consent agenda to advance public business without transparency. The district was notified that it is engaging in a clear violation of the Brown Act when it includes a variety of unique items on the consent agenda which have not been brought before the public at any previous recent school board meeting. Among other restrictions, this practice places on the public discourse, it limits public comment to a single 3-minute opportunity on all items at once. For example, this evening, I'm commenting on the entire consent agenda, versus providing the public an opportunity to more thoroughly comment on each and every item if they wish. To be clear, and not just comment, examine. The comment is based on an examination. To be clear, the district is not permitted to rush items through the public board approval process by loading them into the consent agenda for a single up or down vote. The district must first provide the public an opportunity to consider the agenda item on a standalone basis. This week, union leadership stands in support of each of the items in the consent agenda. In theory, we asked for the school board support on these items as well. However, this is not always the case. The district is required to provide the public an adequate opportunity to thoroughly consider each item at least once and in a previous board meeting before moving that item en masse. Union leadership reserves the right to call on any of these items in question, which is also the right of any community member. So we again ask that the district cease and desist from engaging in this violation and process consent agenda items as the district is required to by the Brown Act to promote public transparency in the governance of the district. Thank you.
May I get a motion to approve the consent agenda and our agenda?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda and our agenda.
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay, any discussion? No? Okay. Can I get a roll call, please?
Eric,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Sally,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
I'm aye.
Wonderful. And we have our student representative report. Isabella, go ahead. Take it away.
I would like to take this opportunity to recap on some events that took place since my last report. The Muse's production of Little Women earlier this month was a success, and many people enjoyed attending the night performances of the play. Our Friendsgiving was scheduled to December 1st, and it became a winter feast. With planning from Virtual Enterprise Culinary Arts and with donations from parents, it became a huge success. Thank you for everyone for making this event happen. Last night was the CHS Music Department winter concert, and the reviews are all 5 stars. The evening performance showcased band, strings, and muses. There was singing, dancing, and lots of fun. Miss Unra has found a creative way to incorporate many aspects of the music program into the concerts. Tomorrow is the first day of fall semester finals. We will be on minimum day schedule, and our semester will conclude on Friday, December 15, 2023. And our first day of spring semester will be Thursday, January 4th, 2024. Finally, don't forget to support Warrior Athletics during our winter break. There will be many opportunities to attend a competition. Check our website for schedules. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the board? All right. Thank you so much. And get a lot of studying done.
Yeah. Good luck on
Good
your
luck.
finals.
Yeah. Okay. Public comment on our student representative report.
All right, lots of cool things happening with the kids around the district. Personally had the opportunity to visit a soccer game, to see a Muses show. Yeah, a lot of great stuff. At the same time, union leadership wanted to share with the students and the student representative that union leadership congratulates the board president and board vice president selected this evening. Or is it elected? I'm not quite sure. But either way, we look forward to working with the school board leaders as well as the student and community leaders in the coming year. Employee union leadership reminds students of the tremendous influence our school board members have, be their performance positive or negative. It will impact the lives of many children and families in the community. Each board trustee sought their positions through the political process of district elections. Each sought to occupy their critical oversight role, whether or not they possess an expertise in either child development, teaching and learning, labor relations, or the mission of the TK 12th grade public education system. Each trustee publicly sought these positions from others who both wanted them and had much to share with the community. And so students should feel empowered to ask difficult questions and demand results from the school board trustees, just as any member of the community can and should. As parents, employees, and community members attend these meetings, or as they watch from home, they are entitled to hear the voices and experience of those who work directly with the students. That is, their teachers, their librarians, counselors, coaches, custodians, food service workers, and other district employees. This includes their elected employee representatives who have committed to carrying the experiences, the questions, the concerns, and observations of district employees to these meetings. I'm doing that right now. And as professionals, union leaders have an obligation to share these experiences of district employees, not as they ought to be, but as they are. This means that much of what we share at these meetings may not be fun or joyful or have a exceedingly celebratory optic. What we share may continue to expose questionable decision-making at the highest levels of the district. But our intent is both transparency and the betterment of the CUSD. And much of what we share will provide each board member, each one of you, an opportunity to improve the district over time and transform the lives of district students and families. So we continue to encourage you not to hate on the messenger, but to listen to what the messenger is sharing with you. Thank you.
Any further public comment on our student representative report? Okay, moving on to our superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'll begin tonight with appreciation. We are so grateful for the office coordinators at our schools who ensure that all students, staff, and families are supported and well served. Letty Garcia at Canalino and Family School, Liz Uribe at Aliso, Martha Saavedra is at Summerlin, Sonia Rodriguez serves CMS, Beatrice Sabaja serves CHS, and then we have Janine Gutierrez and Monica Botello at Pupil Services. My next item is good news, and that's student attendance rates. Average daily attendance for this school year has increased more than the 22-23 school year rate. Last year, our rate was 92.5%, and this year our rate is back to the rates of pre-COVID, closer to 94-95% attendance. Principals, counselors, social workers, and teachers are working directly with parents to assist them in improving their students' daily attendance. Research has long shown that students who are chronically absent are less likely to read at grade level at third grade or graduate from high school. Our next item is the CSBA Conference of 2023. Board President Diamond and myself attended the California School Boards Association Annual Education Conference in San Francisco last week with more than 3,000 school trustees, superintendents, policy experts, and students to discuss the major challenges facing California public schools. There are approximately 1,000 school districts and county offices of education in California, and it's governed by more than 5,000 school board members. Workshops and discussions included navigating the continued impact of the COVID pandemic, learning loss, mental health issues, school safety, artificial intelligence, political issues, career technical programs, school funding, and the state budget projections for 24 and 25. Another item I have tonight is that our CHS, our high school, has received a student behavioral health grant, and that grant funding is used to increase mental health services for high school students. This month, all students participated in the social emotional behavior screening protocol for academic, social, and mental health well-being. The CHS mental health team followed up with any student needing additional counseling support services who had not already been identified by the school mental health team. In addition, CHS has secured an MOU with Daybreak, which is an online mental health counseling service. Daybreak will also offer interactive bilingual online courses on topics such as student mental health, social media, adolescent behavior to all of our CUSD parents beginning in March. Computer Science Education Week is December 4th through 10th, and this year's theme is Creativity in Artificial Intelligence. Computer science education can help bridge the digital divide and prepare students for the world of today and tomorrow. Computer science education fosters critical thinking and ethical considerations and empowers students to navigate our digital landscape with confidence. CUSD secondary schools offer computer science classes, and our students are now learning how to use artificial intelligence. My next item refers to the CMS science classes this semester. During the fall semester, CMS 7th grade students were able to explore and celebrate the achievements of diverse scientists by researching and creating a report about the accomplishments. They also had a blast determining the brand of dish soap that produces the largest bubbles by applying the scientific method. Using microscopes, students delved into the world of atoms and their combinations in the Crystal Microscope Lab. Students now have a solid understanding of the differences between elements, compounds, and mixtures, and can confidently explain these concepts to others. In the phases of water lab, students observed and identified the changes of the state of matter for water. They recorded data, created graphs, and labeled phase changes, enhancing their scientific data analysis skills. The chemical reactions lab challenged students to follow detailed procedures that included mixing identified chemicals, making observations, and analyzing data to determine if a chemical reaction had occurred. And then in the plants in a bottle lab, students studied the oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in different water samples to determine the most efficient lighting conditions for photosynthesis. Currently, students are working on an energy flow comic strip showcasing their understanding of energy flow and habitats and the connection between photosynthesis and cellular respiration. It is truly amazing to see our students' creativity and scientific knowledge shine through in their artwork as well as their writing. And then 8th grade science has also had an action-packed first semester. Students have been engaged in several collaborative engineering projects related to energy and motion, including building roller coasters, engineering egg drop devices, pendulums, and most recently making stop-action videos to animate the moon cycle. UCSB researchers and graduate students visited campus in November to engage families in the interactive science demonstrations during Fuse Night. On December 8th, coinciding with a unit on the origins of universe, the 8th grade class visited the California Science Center in LA, and they viewed an IMAX presentation on the James Webb Telescope discoveries. They viewed the shuttle Endeavour, and they explored exhibits on biology, life science, engineering, and space travel. And then in addition, the CMS Mesa Club, consisting of students in multiple grade levels, continues to meet each week during lunch in the Science Room 11. Building hands-on student projects for the Mesa Day competitions is underway, and the students are excited to earn more medals this year during the UCSB competitions in March. Our next item is related to the United Way partnership. We're pleased to announce that CUSD is partnering with United Way to provide a free winter break program for TK to 5 students, December 18th through the 22nd, 8 to 5 at Catalina School. This extended learning break program will offer daily literacy practice, STEAM activities, social emotional learning, outdoor play, and community exploration during the week. And then my last item is related to the Catalina and the CFS Reading Intervention Program. Our reading intervention teachers have been working hard with students to increase their words per minute. For example, 12 students in first grade, they're receiving reading intervention with the SIPS program. That's Systematic Instruction in Phonological Awareness, Phonics, and Sight Words. And they have made 1 to 1.5 words per minute increase each week that they've been in the program for 12 weeks. And in addition to tracking words per minute, the reading intervention teachers also focus on learning how to read sight words and chart that data as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Public comment on the superintendent's report?
All right, the union notes that the superintendent's report was conspicuously missing from the board materials provided to the community. We understand that please take a look at the board, all the board materials that were provided, and it's not included, it's not attached. We understand that the oversight provided by union leadership makes Superintendent Rigby uncomfortable, but sunshine is the best antiseptic. And the superintendent's use of the agenda item to both often politicize and further her unique, too often propagandized version of district operations requires oversight. The community deserves and is entitled to what you present at these meetings, and they're entitled to that before the meetings occur. Is the community now to expect that the superintendent has so little confidence in what she shares that it cannot be examined prior to these events?
It's right here.
No, just
It wasn't.
let him go.
It isn't. It's mentioned, but it's not attached, Mr. Schaefer. Is this a new practice that the CUSD will engage in to further obstruct in the full participation of those interested in her decisions and the outcomes of those decisions? Is this yet another example of district leadership acting to circumvent the Brown Act by limiting public transparency in the governance of the district. I anticipated that you might comment that I received a hard copy, at the least, of the board agenda bundle that I now receive. I want to remind you that I'm not only here to comment on my experience as a community member or a parent or an employee or a union representative. I'm here on behalf of many, many others, and you are aware of that. The only reason I was privy to the superintendent's report ahead of the meeting is because I routinely file information requests to review the information you have decided not to share with the community this evening. Most community members don't go through the exhaustive process that I go through, and that's another detail you're aware of. And if you force employees and community members to file information requests to arrive to these meetings prepared, you not only waste their time, but you will increase the need for both legal and administrative resources that will further run up the district's legal costs under Superintendent Rigby. It was not attached to the online site. At the latest I checked was 4:45. Thank you.
So I was able on Friday and Saturday and Sunday and yesterday and today to open the superintendent's report because it's been posted since then. The attachment was there. It's still there. It's been there. There is no one trying to hide a superintendent's report. It has been published since the agenda was posted under supporting documents. You just have to click on it. So just very clear that the superintendent's report has been available since Friday when the agenda was published online. Okay. Moving on to public comment on items that are not on this agenda. If anybody has something to talk about that is not on this agenda, please feel free to step right up.
All righty. So on Friday, December 8th, CAUS met with the CUSD to further negotiate the classified contract. The union again provided the district with the safety proposal.
I'm sorry,
First-
labor negotiations were part of the,
Yeah, and it's not
The
on
closed
this agenda,
session.
on the open session agenda. It's not on the agenda.
no, it's on the
Absolutely.
agenda for tonight. You had the opportunity to come at 4:30 to speak about things with
No,
labor
look,
negotiators.
This is public comment. I am entitled,
And
as you
items
know,
not on
to
the
speak to
agenda.
the
No.
bargaining process.
No, this is for things
Did
that
you
are not
speak
on
to
the
all the items
agenda.
that I'm about to cover? You didn't, and you know that.
You are
You spoke to
speaking,
your relationship with your labor negotiators, not about the union's relationship, not
sir,
about the union's
I'm going to tell you
proposals.
right now, you had the opportunity to come and speak to us at
You are once
4:30.
again obstructing
You
the
can
transparency
go ahead
of
and have a
governance in the
seat if you're
district.
going to talk about labor
You
negotiations
are once
because
again
that was
obstructing. Okay,
a
I'll talk
previous
about
agenda
other
item.
things than labor negotiations. The union has been encouraging the district to consider a variety of safety improvements through a variety of processes in the district. These employees have proposed items including standardized school site facility visitor registration processes, district-wide security badging for district personnel, routine visitors, substitute teachers, parent helpers, mentors, contractors, and guest visitors. Some of those categories aren't included currently, Ms. Rigby. Single access points in school site facilities for school site facilities during instructional and after school program hours. Those do not exist on all our campuses. District-wide CPR and first aid training does not exist.
That's not accurate. No. You don't know what you're
For a
been in
small
place since I was a
selection, a
principal.
very small
Stop.
selection of district employees.
No.
Are you telling me that all faculty have been trained?
No, I'm telling you
Exactly,
that-
you're not. No.
no, what I'm
Okay.
telling you
The
is that it's
reinvigoration
available.
of school site and facility safety committees would be another thing that we have been encouraging. Yep. In autumn of 2023, the union submitted many questions to the district. For example, these are questions that relate to fiscal conditions and decisions pertaining to the workforce. For example, many questions about the Human Resource Director's presentation on October 24th that we have received nothing back on. Since the district failed to produce that information, we continue to ask for it. Of the 4 hours reserved for our meetings in the last week, the district spent 3 of them.
Touching back on negotiations.
Yes, touching back on negotiations now.
Which
Spent
this,
3 of them
we already had a time for you to
holding its
comment
own
on
meeting and
negotiations.
not even participating in our meeting.
You had a time to speak about labor
Parties will
negotiations
meet again on
earlier.
Friday, December 15th.
This is okay.
from 10
You're
to 2
done.
p.m.
Thank you. You are done from comment. Thank you. Any further public comment for items that are not on this agenda? Fabulous. Okay. We're moving on to G, Educational Services. We have a memorandum of understanding between Carpinteria Unified School District and Carpinteria Children's Project. The board is asked to approve the MOU between CUSD and CCP. The district and CCP have had a long-standing collaboration pursuant to which CCP provides valuable programs that complement the district's services. Through this MOU, district intends to provide continued use of 5 classrooms for early childhood education, 1 classroom for state preschool, and 1 classroom for the CCP Family Resource Center. The district intends to provide continued use of the existing office space, the auditorium, and the teacher's lounge, all as depicted on the attached map. The term of this MOU is from January 1, 2024 through January 30th, 2034. June 30th, 2034. There are no costs associated with this MOU. And we have Teresa Alvarez, Executive Director of Carpinteria Children's Project, to do a presentation for us.
Hi, everyone. Oh, I'm a little short, so I'll move this down. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today very briefly. My name is Teresa Alvarez, the Executive Director of the Carpinteria Children's Project, and first and foremost, I wanted to thank the school district for your wonderful relationship with the Carpinteria Children's Project. We have been able to stay at the former main school for years now, and we're excited about this extended MOU to continue providing services for our families, quality early childhood education, and of course, community support. What we intend to do in these next 10 years is build outdoor classrooms in all of our yards. So we have 4 yards. We'll embark on a capital campaign and go through the process with the school district of hiring a company to do all of the landscaping. It'll be quite a large project. There will be no cost to the school district. CCP is fundraising for all of the dollars that we will need to upgrade all of our playgrounds. So we currently serve children 18 months to 5 years old, as well as families from the community and our Family Resource Center. And we intend to also open up an infant classroom soon, waiting on licensing. But we will be able to serve infants through 4 years old with the TK expansion. So we're excited to be able to offer outdoor classroom opportunities and learning opportunities for all of our kids to continue providing quality childcare. So thank you so much. And we're excited for the next 10 years.
Thank you so much, Teresa. We are really excited for this and where it's going.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. So may I get a motion to approve the MOU between CARP Children's Project and CCP for 10 and a half years?
Yeah, I'll enthusiastically move to approve that.
And
Oh, sorry. Stop. Sorry. That was supposed to be questions.
Oh,
Sorry.
I just
I
have
got
a com-
excited.
I just have a comment. I just
Discussion is after. This is just
Okay.
questions. Sorry. Public comment on the MOU between Carpinteria Unified School District and Carpinteria Children's Project.
Thank you. So union leadership asks, and we believe you will support the contract, of course. Union leadership truly appreciates the services CCP provides to kids and the families of the community. Employees across the district routinely acknowledge how much of a direct difference the CCP's programs has made on the kids that are arriving to the district and on the families that are arriving to the district. Personally, myself, stepping out of the union president role, I can assure you that my family benefited tremendously from these services also. And as a union president, I'm proud of the work that our union did to ensure that the viability of CCP was intact when it rolled out from under the CUSD's authority and became an entirely standalone venture. So we're also excited for the next 10 years. You may not have been involved at that point. It was a few years back, Ms. Diamond. We are also excited for the next 10 years and go get them. Thank you.
Okay. Now, motion to approve the
I
MOU.
will move to approve the MOU.
and I wholeheartedly second that.
All right. And discussion. Now you get to go.
I just wanted to mention that we are so lucky to have Teresa, who is a product of Carpinteria, but she is so well qualified to be the executive director at CCP. She came to Morning Rotary last week and told us about her background, which so fits what you're doing at CCP. So I personally thank you, Teresa.
And I'd just like to comment and say how many positive things have come out of CCP and the enthusiasm that you see with the families that are attending there and the positive benefits that the whole entire program has had on the families and the community. So thank you. It's great to see you there too.
And well, I love CCP and I love everybody there. And I am really excited for to really give you the time and the space to develop these programs into this vision that you have, and how that will relay into the Family Resource Center and all of the other programmatic things that you do there. It really is a hub for our community. So thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. Thanks, Teresa. Moving on, H, warrants. The board is asked to approve the warrants for the period of 11/22/23 through 12/05/23 in the amount of $800,785.66. Warrants are issued once a week on Thursdays. The report format shows check number, check date, payee, brief account description, payment comment, and check amount. Any questions from the board on this? No? Okay. Public comment on H1 warrants.
So the union is compelled in regard to warrants to draw the public's attention to a specific expenditure that is hard to miss on this evening's warrants. Over $330,000, $330,004.61 to be exact, that the district spent in the last 2 weeks pursuing its continued attacks on union leadership. That's over $330,000 in the last 2 weeks. Pause on that for a moment. $330,000. And think about what else could have been purchased with that money. $330,000 of student services for special education at risk and even our general population students. $330,000 of sports equipment for our high school sports, and maybe even one day a robust middle school sports program if it's not being squandered that way. $330,000 would purchase approximately 4 to 7 more teachers for the current school year, depending on their experience level. $330,000 would purchase approximately 12 to 15 more instructional aides, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, custodians, secretaries, campus supervisors, and support staff. And who knows how many books and office supplies and first aid supplies and valuable trainings and fences and field trips $330,000 would purchase. Last week, union leadership shared that as of this date in 2022, about 1 year ago, the district had spent approximately $1,130,000 in legal fees to undermine employees and their elected leadership. We shared that this was an annual expenditure now under Ms. Rigby, coming directly out of the general fund, and an amount 7-fold the annual increase, 7 times more than the expenses related to these kinds of matters before Ms. Rigby's arrival. This evening, we can confirm that this year's annual cost with the district's efforts to undermine employees and their elected leadership has climbed to approximately $1.5 million. Over $1.5 million and $330,000 in the last 2 weeks alone. Given the extraordinary value of the expenditure and the extraordinary value of the lost opportunities that exist, union leadership is compelled to remind you that the last time you spent public taxpayer money this way, in 2021, and casually approved the expenses and attacks against employee union leadership, you purchased a decision from the California State Public Employee Relations Board that made it very clear that the district and its senior administrators had been retaliating and discriminating against employee union leadership. And when the district tried to appeal that ruling at even greater cost to the public, That decision was upheld and established as a statewide precedent. That was just 2 years ago, and it looks like you've learned little, or you learned the wrong lesson. Some of you weren't here, of course, at that time. Again,
Time's up.
please consider how you're spending the
is
money
up.
in this district.
So, any further public comment? Okay. May I get a motion to approve the warrants?
I move to approve the warrants.
I'll second.
Wonderful discussion.
Well, I just think it's a sad state that it takes, close to $2 million to rid the district of a teacher who performs misconduct towards students, is unprofessional, and the irony that gets thrown in our face weekly is beyond the pale. And I think it's a good indicator of what one of the things that's wrong with public education, that ineffective, unprofessional, and abusive teachers can't be fired more easily.
Absolutely. It's, you look at other school districts that fought for over a decade to get rid of teachers that sexually assaulted students, that have physically harmed, emotionally, mentally harmed students, and what it takes and how difficult it is for a district to protect its students. And so,
And yet the union has
I have to take it
no culpability.
as seriously as possible. And I believe our kids, we have a duty to protect our students. And so I will vote to approve these warrants. We have a first and a second. Any further public comment? Or sorry, any further board discussion?
I think I clarified the $330,000 legal fees is a teacher dismissal case based on student parent complaints of teacher abuse. So this is not related to any union activity. It's
Correct.
clearly based on dismissing a teacher based on student and parent complaints. So that's what the $330,000 legal fees. You all understand that, right? I labeled that for you?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Gifts, grants, and donations. We have a donation from CHS Boosters to CHS Girls Golf. Board is asked to approve the donation from CHS Boosters of $792 to CHS Girls Golf Team for fees at Tea Time Driving Range. Any questions? No? Public comment? Okay. May I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve with gratitude to CHS Boosters.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
2B, donation from Carpinteria Rotary Morning Club to CHS ASB Interact Club. The board is asked to accept the donation from Carpinteria Rotary Morning Club of $500 to CHS ASB Interact Club. Any questions? Public comment on 2B, donation from Carpinteria Morning Rotary to CHS ASB Interact Club. Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
Again, approved. Or move to approve the donation from Carp Morning Rotary.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
2C, donation from Bill Howard and Snap Creative through Carpinteria Education Foundation to CUSD Middle School, Carpinteria Middle School. The board is asked to accept the donation from Bill Howard and Snap Creative through Carpinteria Education Foundation of $5,000 to CUSD CMS to purchase grocery gift cards to assist families in need within the school community. CMS counselors Megan Crook and Stephanie Stahl will distribute the gift cards. Any questions from the board? Public comment on 2C, donation from Bill Howard and Snap Creative. Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that.
Discussion? I think this is absolutely wonderful, especially around this time of year. There's so many reasons that that people need access to this, having worked so close with CCP for years with the food bank and the Giving Tree program. This is going to mean a lot to a lot of families. So, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
2D, grant donation from La Centra Summerlin Foundation through Carpinteria Education Foundation to CUSD. The board is asked to accept the grant donation from La Centra Summerlin Foundation through CEF of $70,000 to CUSD in support of CUSD CADA therapist for the 2023-2024 academic year. Any questions from the board? Public comment on 2D? Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
With huge gratitude to La Centra Summerland. That is a huge gift and will help so many. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2F, grant donation from Audacious Foundation. Oh, no, grant E. Donation from SBCEO teacher programs to support CUSD teacher Christina Pena. The board is asked to accept the grant donation from SBCEO teacher programs in support of $1,000 to CUSD CMS teacher Christina Pena Eckert to fund a passion project. Any questions from the board? Do we know what the passion project is?
Yes, it's mindfulness activities in the classroom.
Nice. Very cool. All right. Public comment on 2E. Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and 2F, grant donation from Audacious Foundation to CUSD teacher Madeline Doles, attached. Let's hear it. The board is asked to accept the grant donation from Audacious Foundation for $3,400 to CUSD TK teacher Madeline Doles as a spruce up grant for her TK outdoor classroom improvement and teacher training. Any questions? Public comment on 2F.
Okay, so once again, union leadership wants to thank the many donors who provided gifts and generous donations. There is a wide variety here, and whether big or small, this agenda included both. The union always appreciates those community members who provide these gifts and grants to CUSD without any unethical or unprofessional strings attached, and a clear example of how much this community can rally around the school district. Thank you.
May I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in discussion, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 2022-2023 annual audit. The board is asked to review and approve the 22-23 annual audit in accordance with Education Code 41020.3 by January 31st of each year. The governing body of each local education agency shall review at a public meeting the annual audit of the local education agency for the prior year. Any audit exceptions identified in that audit, the recommendations or findings of any management letter issued by the audit, and any description or of correction or plans to correct any exceptions or management letter issue. There are no financial audit findings. However, there are 3 program audit findings in 22-23, which are explained, including the district corrective responses on page 84 through 86. There's one carryover finding from 21-22 explained on 87 and 88, including district corrective response. Maureen?
Yeah, so I want to just go over a few things on the audit. Once again, the audit went pretty smoothly. There are no financial findings. We did have a few findings, though, that were more procedural. The first one was related to home to school transportation. A new program in this current year budget from the governor was a home to school transportation grant. And at the time that was being developed, before the adoption even, it was understood that that would be only if you offered home to school regular transportation. So we didn't develop a plan. We weren't going to qualify. Subsequently, they moved it into an apportionment, which means you automatically get the money. since we didn't have a plan last year, we got the money, but I already booked that we would pay it back. And subsequently, I will be bringing a transportation plan to the board in the spring, and that will be an annual apportionment moving forward. And then one finding was in the instructional material area, where every year we do a resolution for the Williams Act saying we have sufficient materials. It slipped through our fingers. So it has no financial consequences other than make sure you do it next year. That's the first time we've ever missed it. And then the third is an enrollment error in one day of 1 month in the after-school program that was caught the very next month. However, that happened to be the month that the auditors pulled, so they saw the error and they had to write it in the audit finding. And then the carryover finding is the fact that our ARIES school attendance program, our student information system, was never approved after 20 years of using it by the CDE. The CDE's response for the past year and a half has been, we'll get to it, but it's not a priority for us. So once again, the auditors rolled that finding over until the CDE says they approve the program. It's kind of hilarious, but that's a process. Other than that, it was a very clean audit.
Thank you. Questions from the board for Maureen?
So are we certain we didn't do the Williamson Act? Because I
Yeah.
can recall, and I know I've been here a long time and done a lot of these, but I can recall the Williamson Act quite recently being on an agenda.
We brought it
Williams,
this year,
yeah.
but we looked. We looked through every single agenda going, wait, what? But yeah, we're going to make sure.
It's not specifically the quarterly Williams Act that we
Yeah,
bring.
it's the
It's
annual
just
resolution.
the annual resolutions, and since that year we did not have any changes whatsoever with the material or the curriculum or anything. It was not done. We just
So maybe I'm just thinking the quarterlies that
Yes.
we've been
Yeah,
doing.
that's
Yeah. All right. Well, good
Okay.
job.
Yes, very good job.
And on the ARIES thing, we're not the only school that has this, I'm guessing.
No. The majority of the state is using this system.
Yeah, just needed to get it on the record.
Right.
This is not unique to us in any way.
Nobody even, and the thing that was curious to me is out of the last 20 plus years we've been using it, no auditor ever checked that the CDE approved it before. Like it was just random. So we're working on it.
Okay. And then we have the recommendations for corrective action with each of these. And let's see here.
We just need a motion.
Yeah, no, I got it. I'm just going through the different things that I had looked at because it was a very large document going through. Which, by the way, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Very huge. Okay. Okay, so no further questions from the board. Okay, public comment on the 22-23 annual audit.
So 20 years later, the state steps in to provide oversight. It is, in fact, almost comical. It is an example of how few resources the state has in place for the ETK 12 school districts in the state. And that does draw some attention to the importance of the oversight role that you play as district board members. And so we remind you that long before any violations, any errors, any misstatements, any discrepancies in the documents and reports that get sent to the state occur, you have an opportunity to review those yourself and correct them yourselves. And we hope you will. Thank you.
May I get a motion to approve the annual audit?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
Well, I'll just say that I'm completely unqualified to audit our financials, and so I'm going to leave it to people that actually do that for a living.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Moving on, the 2023-24 first interim report. The board is asked to approve the 23-24 first interim report. AB 1200 requires that budget and financial data are reported at periodic intervals throughout the year. AB 2756 requires a superintendent and chief business officer to certify that the district will meet its financial obligations for the current and 2 subsequent years. Both AB 1200 and AB 2756 require certification of affordability through the collective bargaining process. Maureen Fitzgerald will provide a PowerPoint presentation and review attached documents. Maureen.
So our first interim is one of actually 5, but we used 4 reporting periods that we send information to the state. We submit it to the CDE through a CDE software. So it is our information that the CDE gets. They don't do anything for us other than accept it. And so we send our adopted budget with our estimated actuals. We send our unaudited actuals in September with our revised budget. And then our first interim, which is what you're going to hear about tonight. We do a second interim, which will come to you in March. And then if any district is negative or qualified, they're required to do a third interim by May 31st. We've never had to do a third interim. So this is our first interim reporting period. And in every one of these reporting periods, our financial data that we have prepared is submitted to the state. This financial period, we're certifying positive. Again, there's 3 different qualifications. There's positive, which means you have the ability to meet your current and 2 subsequent years. You have qualified, meaning you may or may not be able to meet all 3 years in your budget with an adequate reserve. And negative means something entirely different. It means you don't have enough cash to make payroll, period. Like you're out of cash. That's bad. We are categorized for our reserves based on our ADA to have a 3% required reserve. You can see the different ADA categories here. That's pretty standard for most of the districts in the state of California. So let's talk about our property tax changes for a minute. We, in 22-23, we did receive a 7%, little over 7% tax increase. Some of that came in a huge one-time adjustment, which at the time we did the adopted budget, it was like, I'm going to be cautious because one-time adjustments could be one-time collections. It cannot necessarily be roll adjustments. In our October property tax estimates, both from Santa Barbara County tax collector and the county education office, that 7% was rolled into unsecured tax increases. So you're going to hear about those tax increases for 23-4. I also subsequently updated the multi-year projection that 7% will continue. I think it can go either way. I can stay conservative and go down to 5 or 6, or I can assume that 2 years over in a row we have been 7% or more, and that could be a reasonable estimation. But I will continue to monitor that, and if it needs to be adjusted, we will adjust it. So in the current year, you can see the change at year end from 22-23 in the bottom box. From the adopted budget to the first interim P1, actually the white is actual. The P1 is for the current year. We ended our year last year with only a $53,000 change from the adopted to year end. So our tax collections are not based on our own property taxes within CUSD. This county is what they call a teeter district, meaning we get a percentage of all taxes collected. So it's not contingent on what happens just in our school district. So in 23-4, we're increasing our projections by $573,000. And subsequently, that compounds itself in the next 2 years. So you'll see that when I get to the multi-year. I'm going to go over the total general fund, and I'll summarize the changes by unrestricted and restricted because that has a lot of relevancy. So for the revenues, we changed our state aid about $607,000. That is both the $573,000 change in property tax increases, as well as the restricted side special ed property tax increases of another $33,900. That stays in special ed. And then our revenues, the rest of the revenue changes are all in the restricted side of the programs. So we start going in and getting actual Title I, II, III, and IV allocations. You know, we have our special ed final funding that comes in November. ELOP was finally apportioned, and it is reduced because, and I'll tell you both our title programs, ELOP, and special education, anything tied to ADA and enrollment on a general basis will begin to decline. Our revenues will start to drop. Overall revenues drop, overall ADA statewide or nationwide is dropping, and enrollment is dropping. And our special ed funding is based on SELPA total ADA, not just us. So those revenues are starting to inch itself down. And then for the local revenues, we had 3 big local donation programs that came to our district. Santa Barbara Health Incentive Grant of $408. That's for the high school. We have the first 5. These all came before the board already for $47,000. And then we had a lot of site donations. And then some of this are mental health monies also. So overall, the revenue went up $1 million. On the expenditure side, oops, I have to look here because it's a little bit fuzzy over there. So on the expenditure side, again, this is going to be total general fund, and it'll be broken down in the description box. Our changes to the unrestricted expenditures were only $38,700. It was like very, very minimal. And when I did our revised budget back in September, I did plan for plan selection changes in health and welfare. We hadn't closed open enrollment yet. The staffing set at beginning of school year, we were pretty close on that. So the overall change was very, very minimal. And then you can see the changes in restricted expenditures of 551 tie into the restricted revenue that we received for the grants that we added. When you put that together, we're increasing our general fund by $459,000. That is in large part due to the property tax increase. We are expecting our first interim reserves to be at 6.95, up from the 5.8 at the revised budget, in large part due to the property tax bump. When you look at the next slide on page 9, it's a good illustration of how it changes unrestricted and restricted total budget and reserves to the total general fund. When you look at the unrestricted budget where it says excess deficiency of revenues over expenditures, kind of 2/3 down the page, there's a positive 71,468. At the revised, that was a negative by a lot. So and understand that when we offered raises last year, we offered based on dipping into the reserves for 22-23 and 23-24. So that additional revenue boost did bring that back up into the positive so that it no longer was being used for past deficits. And then on the restricted side, you see a deficiency of $2.3 million. That is the final spending of our COVID funds. So it will begin to level out because you spend your restricted money that comes in 1 year to be spent over multiple years. You spend it out of balance by using a deficit. That's just the way it is spent. So you can see We have still we have 2.5 million in restricted reserves. We have our 3% minimum reserve of 1.2 million, and we're expecting a 6.95 reserve total general fund. And then on the following slide, the first interim, the intent of the first interim is to show actuals through October 31st so that you can look at where you are in actuals versus your budget and that you're tracking appropriately. I apologize. I think the percent got cut off. So you can, what I like to point out at this point, because this is through October 31st, we are a property tax funded district. Our property taxes come in December and April. And so you can see the revenues aren't really there yet to cover the 10, almost $11 million in expenditures. So that's why your fund balance and your cash balance is really important this time of year. This is the first year we haven't done a TRAN to bridge that cash flow gap, because we still had some COVID funds. You'll see the TRAN come back next year. And we'll go over that then. So you can see how the actuals are affected by our total budget. And then more importantly, and maybe sometimes not necessarily as relevant, because multi-years, as you can see what happened with the governor's budget in the current year, going from quite a healthy COLA down to a 1.2% COLA because of tax drops. Multi-years are really a glance as it was when you made the projection. It can change based on the nature of the budgets at the governor's office. So based on the property tax assumptions, you can see that we're at 6.95 this year, 10% in 24.5, and just under 16 in 25.6. And then the caveat that this doesn't include any bargaining unit salary increases. Those are still pending negotiations. Going into next year, this is it's very small, sorry. This is the COVID funding update. Kind of towards the bottom, you see the green box. We have obligated through this year and spent $11 million. That is all going to be gone. That won't recover next year. The only funds that will remain are the A through G grants for the high school, and some art, music, and discretionary block grant money will be available. There's a little bit of money left in that. It won't be the total 500, but there will be some money left in that. And then moving into next year, talking about exhausting our COVID funds, we still have several positions that are being funded in that last year of COVID money. These are the positions that are in those COVID funds. So we'll be next month starting to work on and preparing for these positions to be eliminated. And that will go through the layoff process and the resolution process that has to be done so that these positions will not be funded next year, the following year in 24-5. That is our first interim.
Questions, not discussion yet, but any questions?
Is the library media technology, is that at all schools or just one of them?
Some of that it's a little bit at all of them, because the hours were increased
Right.
with this money. So I'll say with all of these, our intent through between now and next year is to try to recover through attrition.
Mm.
So if a position becomes vacant, we will eliminate that piece.
Mm-hmm.
So our intent is to minimize any reduction in workforce, period, through attrition. So, but we do have these positions in there currently. We're going to precautionary put them out through the process so that we don't end up with unfunded positions.
Question, since we didn't do a TRAN, when we do the TRAN, we pay interest on that, correct?
We pay a fee and we
Okay.
collect interest.
Oh, we
So
collect interest.
It
on
does,
Oh. I was trying to
remember
see
when-
if there was like
Yeah,
we had a savings
I
by
remember
not
when we
doing
made a
it.
lot of money on trans and people would do
Really?
it just for the interest. Not anymore.
Okay.
It does cost us between, I would say, $60,000 and $100,000 now because the fees are higher than any interest you're going to collect.
So there's a savings there
Well, it costs us money.
to not. No, I'm saying to not do
to
it
not do the trans
this
yes.
year.
Yeah, yeah,
We're saving 100.
yes, yeah.
Fab. Okay. Okay. Public comment on first interim financial report. Please feel free to step up to the podium.
Thank you. So in the past, you've heard cause leadership caution board members from buying into diving headfirst into what is a long employed accounting technique of overestimating expenditures while underestimating revenues. Again, that's overestimating expenditures while underestimating revenues. There are several places in this presentation where you see that practice in practice, and we're glad, of course, that that more money has come in than everybody claimed in the past, as it almost always does. So let's see. We'd like to remind you that at this time last year, the district was in bargaining, declaring doomsday scenarios, declaring that there was no money. At that time, the district had still only offered, I believe it was 2%. Yeah, no, eventually we got you there. But this time last year, it was 2% is what you had offered. We have all the documentation. We'd be happy if anybody wants to look into that. And so it took, again, I believe 13 bargaining sessions, and in April, we finally reached a decision because you finally came forward with 8 in April of 2023. Nonetheless, it was another example of the district crying doomsday, declaring that there's not enough money. And then look at that. A year later, the money happened to come in. And not only did it happen to come in to avoid the doomsday, it actually came in when we're doing better than we were being predicted, even if there hadn't been doomsday. When we look at the, let's see here. When we look at the general fund multi-year at a glance, we'd like to remind you that the state requirement is 3% 3 years out. And currently, 3 years out, we're looking at 15.93%. So that's 5 times the state mandated requirement. And so, once again, if you look at what you predicted for those numbers at this time last year, you'll see that those numbers were actually on a downward spiral, not an upward spiral. So good decisions can produce stable budgets and still make sure that employees walk away being able to buy bread and butter and pay their bills. And we'd like to encourage you to keep that in mind when we enter, as we are now currently in the bargaining season, talking about salary and benefits and a variety of things beyond student safety and training and leave and items like that.
Thank you. Time is up. So I recall we offered 8%, and we actually offered more than that. We offered a 7 plus a 5, 5, and 5, I believe is along what the lines of what it was. And that was offered pretty much right out of the gate, but that's a shame. So let's see here. May I get a motion to approve the first interim?
I move to approve the first interim report.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
I'd just like to say that Mrs. Fitzgerald is far more qualified to make these discussions and determinations and presentations than other people.
Anybody else before I jump in? Okay.
Really appreciate the numbers. Thank you.
Yeah, this is amazing. Okay, so when budgeting, it is custom practice to be more conservative in the income and expect the unexpected on expenses, correct?
Yes, and I will point out that on slide 5, when you look at the change from budget to budgeted estimates in 22-3, from the time we adopted the budget to the time that we ended the year, it was only off by $53,000. So year over year over year, we've been averaging about a 5% increase, and we have rarely ended the year with much more than that, higher low than the estimate.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And also, the state reserve numbers, that's a minimum, not a maximum, not an only, but that is a minimum. And each district has to make the best decision for themselves based on how they're funded, when their funding comes, what type of certainty or uncertainty they have going on, and where the board determines their reserve percentage to be at, correct?
Correct. So
Yeah.
the 3% is your minimum required reserve. It is recommended for basic aid districts like we are, property tax funded districts, to be at a 10% or higher. They are more subject to revenue loss than the state funded districts that are guaranteed a minimum. We also have a board policy that desires to have a 10% reserve. And we have, over the past couple of years, especially with the use of COVID money that we have well maximized, we have had enough reserves to offer classified employees a 10% raise, certificated employees an 8% raise, apply bonuses 2 years running, to make sure that our employees are rewarded for the work they did during COVID and keeping our schools open. And that's being responsible. Now, granted, the reserves on the multi-year are without compensation increases. They will go down. These are what they are expected to be today. And I also said that I'm projecting a 7% future year increase for the next 2 years. And that we will adjust if we see that at year end there's a change. It usually doesn't happen that way. I feel pretty good about that. But then again, things can change. The market can change. We are subject to county tax collections. So, that is our best guess. I will say that I look at, I have a active property tax worksheet that has almost a 20-year look back. And I use that trend analysis even through recessions to look at how I project and what the county is projecting for tax increases, to make sure that we are not falsifying or underestimating any tax, that it is as accurate as it can be when you're estimating.
Right. And then on page 8, it shows, and I just want to clarify what I'm seeing here. So our increase, let's see here. In this case, let's see here, increase or decrease to fund balance, and there's a variance there, and then unappropriated fund balance. They're close in number. So is that, that's kind of what is left
Yep.
when it's all said and done for us to work with
Yes.
for
either compensation increases, board priorities. That unappropriated fund balance is at the will of the board.
Okay.
And that contributes to that 6.95% reserve after designations.
So, okay. Thank you for clarifying what that is. Any other discussion from the board? No. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we have a resolution, Resolution 23-919, resolution of the governing board delegation of Governing board powers, duties, authorities to make cash and budget transfers. The board is asked to adopt Resolution 23919, which authorizes superintendent and assistant superintendent business services to make cash and budget transfers between and within district funds as necessary for the payments of obligations of the district for 2024. Any questions from the board? Public comment? Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve Resolution 23-919.
I'll second.
Any discussion? And roll call.
Eric,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Sally,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
I'm aye.
Measure U, contract with Leach Group, Inc. for professional services DSA inspector of record for Catalina Learning Center. The board is asked to approve the attached agreement describing services to be provided by Leach Group, Inc. as the DSA inspector of record for the Catalina Learning Center project. Inspector of record, Exhibit A, all projects approved by the Division of State Architects are required to have a Class 1 inspector on site whenever construction projects are in progress. The inspector's duties are prescribed by DSA regulations to ensure that construction meets the stringent DSA standards. In general, the inspector must maintain daily inspection records and must sign off approval of contractor work at specified stages. The hourly rate of compensation is $107.50 with an estimated total of $68,800 to be paid with Measure U funds. Any questions from the board? Public comment on Measure U I-1? Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I'd just like to say the big shoes to fill with replacing Ernie Kais.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a shout out to Ernie if he's listening. But yeah, it'll be good to get. This is one of our last projects, and hopefully it goes off as smoothly as the others.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contract with North American Technical Services, Inc., implant inspector for Catalina Learning Center Gen 7 buildings. The board is asked to approve the agreement with North American Technician Services, Inc. to provide implant inspection services for the Gen 7 modular building for Catalina Learning Center. Implant inspections include welding and fabrication, frames and foundation embed, framing, electrical, plumbing, fire sprinklers, mechanical, and ADA finishes. The agreement cost is $6,300, will be paid with Measure U funds. Questions? Public comment on I-2, and seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Personnel summary. The board is asked to approve the following recommended personnel items. Assignments 1 personnel, resignations 1 personnel. Any questions from the board? No? Public comment on personnel?
So although the union is pleased to see that a new instructional aide was hired, this aide was hired at 0.375 FTE. That is an employee who works 37% of the hours a full-time employee would work the district and help resolve our long and storied labor shortage. But it does little to stem the significant instructional aid deficit in the district. Union leadership again draws your attention as well to the wage range that the new employee was hired at, 106.13. While the district continues to make no effort to resolve the root cause of the instructional aid deficit, where new employees receive higher hourly wages than employees who have provided consistent high quality service to district students for 5, 10, 15, and 20 years or more, instructional aides continue to leave as they did in the last month. You may also notice that there is a resignation specifically, and this, you really should pay attention to this, specifically the resignation of yet another special education teacher at the middle school. The union and SPED faculty at the middle school warned you that this would happen. They did it privately. They did it through a letter a month ago. They came to board meetings twice. And they said that if the district responded to the previous decision of another SPED teacher who took leave in the early autumn, that this was going to occur. But instead of making decisions that improved services for students, The superintendent, the CMS principal, and the SPED director sought to use the loss of the CMS SPED faculty member as an opportunity to save money and resources. And as a result, now, as of this board meeting, another SPED teacher at the middle school has tendered her resignation as of January 2nd. The resignation of Ms. Owens makes 9 special education teachers having resigned or taken early retirement from the middle school in less than 3 years. I would also stare off into space right now. When parents come forward to share their concerns, the board effectively dismissed them. Of course, you politely thanked them first, but you ignored them, and you failed to direct the superintendent to work to resolve the SPED issues at the middle school in a more effective manner. And as a result, we are now looking at the CMS SPED faculty being reduced by 40% in the middle of the school year, rendering much of the data in the SPED director's glossy presentation at the last meeting utterly irrelevant. What are you going to do about this? It's on your shoulders at this point. Nobody else can make the decisions that need to be made to resolve this problem and make sure that our students and their families are served. Are we going to wait for a third resignation?
Thank you. Your time is up. May I get a motion to approve
I'll
our
move-
personnel summary?
Move to approve personnel summary.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Board announcements.
Uh,
Anybody got
uh,
anything?
Yeah, I mean, the FFA is still selling poinsettias. I think they're going fast. So if anyone's interested, they can contact the high school and arrange to pick some up. And just like to encourage and congratulate all of our seniors on completing their UC and Cal State applications that were due last week. And most of our seniors are working on their Common App and submitting those to other schools. So it's an exciting time of year to have a high school senior. And congratulations to Aaron. I mean, to Asher, Aaron, on going to Alameda committing. So that's great.
Very cool. CMS Winter Band Concert is Wednesday at 6:30. And CHS has put out something, Parents for CHS has put out an event, I believe it's this Friday, for any of the high school parents. It looks like they're going to have a fun event. And I just want to say, Superintendent Rigby brought up the CSBA conference that she and I went to about a week and a half ago. And it really was, first of all, thank you for approving that for us to go. It was absolutely wonderful to meet with other board members from across the state, from all different school districts, some very much like ours, some very different from ours. Listen to the different workshops and presentations. The keynote speakers were absolutely amazing and inspiring. But beyond that, it wasn't a rah-rah. It was information and it was confirmation. A lot of it, what blew me away was how much the presentations, the workshops, and even the keynote speakers, what they presented was confirmation. We're doing so much of that already and have been for quite some time. And I was actually getting shocked when I would hear, Diana and I were sitting there and we'd hear a district behind us go, "Oh, that's a neat idea. Maybe we should look into that." And I'm like, we've been doing that for 7 years. And so it was this confirmation. We are obviously doing things and going in the right direction here for Carpinteria. But it also brought me back to the idea of the fact that California as a whole is the 4th largest GDP in the world. And we rank as a state anywhere, depending on the poll, from 30 to 40th in education. And we can do all the things we can do here, but we can only work with what we have. I mean, all of the gifts, grants, and awards that have to get sought out because the state and the feds are not providing what is needed for us to give these kids the education they deserve. And I mean, the things like IDEA has not been properly funded for how long, and there's so many different issues, and I just what we're doing is amazing. It frustrated me realizing how much more we could do if the state of California and the United States of America properly funded public schools, and how that's holding back our kids, my kids, your kids, our kids. So I feel like there's a lot, like we do a lot of work, but there's a lot more work to do. So that was, again, thank you for the opportunity to participate in that. And thank you for sharing that with me. I really appreciated that.
Well, thank you for attending.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big commitment. I have one more announcement, actually.
Go for it.
So the parents for the high school are going to be offering a wreath making class at the Linda Fairley Arts Center on Friday afternoon from 2 until I think about 5-ish. 2 to 7. Okay. And so they'll have all the materials and the tools, and all you have to do is show up and make some wreaths for the holidays. There'll also be some, I think they're doing ornaments as well. And the art center is making a generous donation to the parent group in exchange for them putting this on. So it's great.
Wonderful.
A win-win.
And I believe CCP is I think Santa is visiting CCP on Friday morning.
Oh my goodness. That is big news. That's like VIP coming into town. Very exciting. Okay, board calendar. Monica?
You do have to approve it. It's the one we attached,
Yep.
and this is for the 2024.
Wait,
We already
we already
did
approved it.
No, actually.
This is, yes, go ahead.
Actually, you approved the dates. We're asking you to approve the agenda items for the board.
Right.
It's the
That's
last.
right. I got that right here. Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes, last attachment.
Because this is the one that itemizes when we do what, not just the dates of the meetings. Thank you for clarifying that. The board is asked to approve the 2024 agenda board calendar. This calendar will be included with the agenda to keep the board focused on actions and events that take place annually. Any questions from the board? Okay, public comment on the board calendar. And seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the board calendar for 2024 as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. M, future agenda items. Monica, we have the 24, or I guess Maureen, the 24-25 budget development listed. And anybody on the board have any questions about future agenda items? Okay, public comment, future agenda items.
The union requests that a review of the criteria, unique talents, and professional experiences that influenced this evening's board committee appointments be placed on the upcoming board agenda. It may be helpful to better understand why specific board members occupy influential seats on these specific committees. We believe that district employees and community members benefit when they better understand the strengths and only if there are any weaknesses that board members might possess as they conduct the business on these committees. And people might be able to provide you direct assistance who have expertise in those areas. Pertaining to the topic of school board committees still, and continuing our effort to promote transparency in the processes that have significant influence on district operations, finances, student experiences, and families. Union leadership also requests that the board include one more topic on the upcoming board agenda. Upon Superintendent Rigby's arrival, there were two committees that have since been apparently removed: the School Board Classified Bargaining Committee and the School Board Certificated Bargaining Committee. At that time, when they did exist, upon your arrival, 2 board members sat on each of the district's collective bargaining teams, a classified team and a certificated team with 2 board members on each. These board members joined senior management and employee union leadership to negotiate employee contract improvements, salaries, benefits, working conditions, and resource allocation. And in the course of these negotiations, direct and meaningful conversations occurred. As a result, school board members gained a more realistic and nuanced understanding of how the resources they oversaw impacted both the teaching and learning environment and the day-to-day operations that directly impacted the success of students and families. And the union better understood where board members might be coming from and the administrative considerations that were sometimes, we didn't understand. However strained or enjoyable any given negotiating session might be, the members of both bargaining teams, the unions and the district's teams, walked away with a better understanding. Most of us did, Mr. Schaefer. We know you didn't. Thank you. Walked away with a better understanding of each other's interests, what needed to be done, and the variety of other options available. Not only does union leadership request your increased and direct intervention in the bargaining process, but we ask that the board include an examination of this topic on the upcoming board agenda, where we can better understand the rationale behind the board's current lack of participation in this area, the fears you might have, the fears that are being encouraged, and the opportunities that are being missed. Again, this issue and the quality of our working relationship with the district employees and their elected representatives and district administrators and the board has a direct impact on student achievement, the experience of district families and what is possible in the district. Once again, you've got to be a broken record, but we continue to ask you to come back to the table and participate so that we can better understand you and you can better understand us. Thank you.
Okay, any discussion from the board on future agenda items? Are we getting a presentation on energy something?
Yes.
Yeah, in January?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And then, just speaking of budget development, well, no, we already spoke on it. Never mind. All right. Nothing else? We're good? Then we are adjourned. Thank you.
Happy holidays to all.
Yes. Happy holidays, everybody.
Queue up with a pen.
I'm not 3 hours ahead of that.